Hey, and welcome to the Jessica Paul podcast. I'm your host, Jess Paul, actress, manifestation expert, and mindset coach. And I'm here to share with you all of my secrets on confidence, success, and the magic of manifestation. If you're ready to dive in deep and see more success in your career, more money in your bank account, and more love in your life, with a whole new level of freedom, then you're in the right place. I'm letting loose on everything you need to take back control of your life, up-level your mindset, and tap into your manifestation powers. I'm so excited that you're here. Hello, gorgeous souls, and welcome back to the JP podcast. It is I, Jess Paul, here to help you manifest the life of your dreams, and we are going all in because we are nearly at the end of 2021, guys. How crazy. It's nearly Christmas. I hope you're all getting excited for Christmas. I know that here in the UK, it's getting quite tense again with COVID and everything, and lots of restrictions are coming back up, but just remember your power. Remember the influence you have on your vibration, and none of this has to affect it, right? None of it has to affect it. So we're going to be powering on, and we've got a gorgeous episode today. We're going to be diving into our spiritual side with an amazing special guest, and we're going to be chatting all things crystals and zodiac signs and just all the spiritual goodness. But before we get into all of that and I introduce you to our guest, I'm going to just start off with a quick life update and a quick sponsor, and then we'll get right into it. Firstly, I hope that you all enjoyed the manifestation challenge that we had on over the past few weeks. It's all up here on my podcast, so if you haven't caught up yet, you can go and catch up. There's a load of amazing free content there for you where you can go and make your notes, do your thing. So, guys, as you are listening to this, I will be on my way to Paris, very excited. So I actually had to cancel the last few days of my trip because of COVID. But you know, we make it work, right? It's all good. We're sometimes throwing these curveballs, but we make it work. So had a little bit of a stressful morning this morning. Trying to figure all of that out, but got it all sorted. Gonna go and see my best friend, celebrate her birthday, just have a great time, make the most of it. So I'll have all the updates on Instagram for you all. So that's what's happening in my life. Now, also guys, as a reminder, so the doors for the Mindset Miracles and Manifestation Academy for January 2022 are going to be closing very soon. We have already got a gorgeous container of women together. We're all ready and raring to go in the new year, but there is still time for you to get in there. If you feel like you are ready to go for it, you want to dive into this work, you want to transform your mindset, you want to transform yourself energetically and learn these energetics of success and really go headfirst into this manifestation process, then this academy is for you. And as I say, we have seen round after round after round of this MMM Academy, and it's just gone from success to success, and I'm so proud of every single one of my students. And 2022 is going to be the year where we have a huge up level all together. So if you're ready, I'm going to link it all in the show notes. You can book on a free call with me before the new year, and we will get you signed up. Okay guys, let's dive into today's episode. So we are welcoming on the amazing Georgina Easterbrook today. She's a 23-year-old Scorpio from Brighton here in the UK, and she's the owner of Athena'S crystals. So her brand is all about providing the highest quality, ethically sourced crystals and crystal jewelry to all of the spiritual baddies out there. You may know her also from TikTok, where she gives advice on crystals, manifesting, and all things spiritual. So I'm so excited to get Georgina on today. We've been following each other for a while, and we have also been in chats about a little collab that may be coming up too. So very, very excited about that. And we just dive in today's episode. We actually talk about her online business in this spiritual community, but we chat all things spirituality, all things crystals, which is obviously what she's selling. And of course, I will link all her links in the show notes so that you can go and purchase your crystals if you would like them. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome her on and enjoy the episode. Hi, Georgina. So lovely to have you on the podcast. As I was saying before when we were just chatting, I've been following you for a while on Instagram and on TikTok. You have a big presence on TikTok. And basically, I think it would just be a great place to start by telling everybody a bit about who you are and what it is that you do. So give us your story, basically.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, thank you for having me. It's so nice to be on, have a little chat. So I'm 22, turn 23 in a couple of weeks. As you say, I sell crystals. So I own like a little small crystal business, which kind of started out just as like a passion of love, like just because I've always been so into them and loved them. Got really into manifestation, law of attraction, everything over the last couple of years, which has taken me from like working minimum wage retail jobs and not really knowing what I'm doing with my life, into where I am now. So I started my crystal business when I got made redundant over lockdown, from a job that I didn't really like. And so I decided to get some crystals in, and at first it was just for myself, just because I've always used them when I'm in like a time of need. And so I got some from somewhere completely new, and I just found that any energy of them was just amazing. So I thought, okay, other people need to know about this. I felt like I had a little sign like from the universe that was like, this could be, you could be onto something here. So I started it really small, and then I made a TikTok to kind of go with it and kind of talk about crystals a bit more, because I've always been really into social media as well. My retail job was in makeup. So I made a makeup TikTok over lockdown to try and kind of maybe go freelance, and that didn't really work out. But I feel like that taught me a lot about social media, and I was still really into it. And I was like, it's just not clicking, it's just not working. And then as soon as I started talking about more the spiritual side of stuff that I was into, crystals, it just kind of blew up massively. And that's kind of where the business really grew. And now obviously it's what I'm doing full time, and yeah, I'm loving it.
Wow. And you know what I love from that is that usually these businesses, these spiritual businesses, and you know, these mindset businesses, they do really come from that place, don't they? They come from a place of you going through it yourself.
Yeah.
It's never like you set out to really, it was the same with me. It's never like I set out to be a mindset manifestation coach and, you know, make the money I'm making. Like, obviously, you know, in your journey, you go through it yourself and you think, okay, well, I can help other people because it's helping me.
Yeah.
And everybody look, I love this because everybody loves a success story. And this is basically your story as well, because you setting it up in lockdown. Again, there were so many people. I felt like lockdown was quite a creative time for a lot of people because we were just forced to stop. And for you being made redundant.
Well, we all got put on furlough, along with the rest of the country,
Yeah.
it seemed. And yeah, eventually we got the call just to kind of say that our store was closing down. And that was just really hard because obviously I had a lot of friends there, and you kind of get thrown into a bit of chaos of what the hell am I going to do now? And unfortunately, there was a lot of people in a similar situation, which in a way is kind of good because there was kind of a lot of support, but it just really makes you question what you're going to do with your life. So in a way, I feel like it's a really good thing. And as I said, like this all kind of happened whilst I was really going through my own spiritual journey. So I kind of was able to have a bit of more of like a positive outlook on it. Like, well, this has clearly happened for a reason. It's pushing me towards where I want to be. And when everything just started clicking and I just went with my gut and what felt right at the time, that's when everything started going well. So
Yeah, and you're so right. You know, when you do go through that spiritual awakening almost where everything seems like it's going wrong,
yeah,
but it's actually just all kind of like cleansing and crumbling down and making space for the things that are supposed to be in your life. And I think lockdown was that period for so many people because it was like everything's changed, you know, like I've been made redundant, I have lost my job. For me as an actress as well, you know, my industry completely crumbled, and it was like, well, where do we go next? And you have to ask yourself that question. And I guess as well, now we've kind of come out of that period, you still have that in your spiritual journey, don't you? You always have that kind of moment right before you're about to up level, where everything seems like it's going wrong. But your up level was huge, you know, and tell us a little bit about that moment when social media kind of blew up for you, like let's say like TikTok and stuff blew up for you? How did that happen?
Well, I mean, I guess I'd kind of manifested it. Well, I had, because I've got it on my little vision board, but this was back when I was doing like my makeup thing, that I would have 100,000 followers on TikTok, and that at the time seemed like such a big reach, because I was spending hours and hours on makeup videos to get literally about 40 views, and I was like, but I just still was like, this is going to work in some way. And then obviously when I made my Crystal account, I had kind of done a lot of research into social media. I was like, I'd planned out all my videos, like literally written up like a little document and like color coded it and what was going to be with trending sounds and this and that. So I'd like planned it down to a T, like taken inspired action, as you probably are well known. I just felt like I was getting signs to do it. And when I made the new account, the videos were like doing well, like in comparison to the makeup ones. I was like, oh, I've got a few thousand views. This is crazy. And then I did a video, like my first talking video was the one where I did like the crystals that every bad bitch needs in her life. And that one got, I think it was about 700,000 or 800,000 views. And that to me was just like, I was literally in shock. Like I was just watching it go. I was just sitting there refreshing it going, what is going on? And that obviously led to a lot of people messaging my Crystal account saying like, I want the bad bitch bundle.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't have that. I don't know. I don't. TikTok really like shaped how my business worked, and it became more of a business about providing crystals for people, more the newer generation, because they're obviously interested in a lot more. I think a lot of people that have spoken to me, they'd go into crystal shops, like spiritual shops, and they'd find it all a little bit, I don't know, maybe a bit old fashioned and a bit confusing, and no one really broke it down for like the problems of today, and more talking about like confidence and like empowering kind of things. It was all a bit like witchy woo. So it was more the clients and the people that I met through TikTok that really helped me shape how my business looks, which was great.
I think that's so important that you say, because I think that, you know, and even I think I fell into this trap where if it's not modernized, if it's not like, you know, for this millennial generation, like you can't relate, can you?
Yeah.
And what I love by that is, you know, and I use this phrase all the time as well, bad bitch. Like most of my audience, they're all bad bitches. They're all up leveling in that way. And we can relate because there's a certain power behind it that, you know, in this day and age makes sense to us.
Yeah.
So I love that. And as well, like for you, that's such a practice in inspired action, as you say, because, you know, you were doing these makeup tutorials which weren't getting any views because clearly the energy behind it was not that of something that completely inspired you, something that was what you were supposed to do. And when you started doing that,
I've said this to all my friends and my family, this was exactly it. I always felt at the time that, and maybe it came from a lack of like self-confidence as well, but I thought makeup was something I was good at. Like I'll own up to that. Like I'll toot my own horn. I was good at makeup. It was like what I was talented at. I had a skill for it, but I always said, and I always felt, I was like, this is just not, like, are you just supposed to do what you're good at? Like, is everyone just given something they're good at and that's what they're meant to do? And I was operating from very much a state of, I don't think I'm good at much else, so this is what I'm going to have to pursue. And obviously the universe was like, no, and they're just sending me all these signs. And then eventually when my job was gone as well, I was like, this is not for me. And I was doing freelance and people would message me about appointments, and I just remember just feeling this like horrible feeling just in my gut. I was like, I don't even want to do it. I don't know why, but I just don't want to do it. And eventually I was pushed. So it's weird, like you, obviously you're a manifestation coach, so I know you'll be all over this, but when you look back on all the little things that have happened that have led you to that place. So when I got made redundant, I started working for my dad, who was a jeweler, and he kind of got me even more interested in, say, like the jewelry side of things or like stones, but he was just doing it to help me out. And then my auntie also hired me one day a week to run her, she owns a jewelry business as well, so to run her social media and website side of things. So that's when I got introduced to like Shopify and like Instagram. And when I was working for her one day, I was like looking through her Instagram trying to find like inspiration. And there was this page that had just posted like a hand with like rocks in, like gemstones, and I thought, that's such a crappy picture. Why, like, I bet this page doesn't even have that many followers. So I clicked on it and they had hundreds of thousands. And then I just suddenly had the idea. I was like, why have I not explored like crystals and jewelry and stuff more? And just all of a sudden, once that idea was in my brain, I just couldn't shake it. So when you know something's right, it just is. But all those things leading up to it all seemed bad, but it's putting you on the right path, isn't it? So
yeah, 100%. And that feeling that you were describing there about, you know, when you were talking about the makeup and people asking you for you know, appointments, and you just had that feeling in your stomach, like that's that unalignment feeling that so many people live with and just carry on living with, and you don't have to live with. And I think obviously there is that element of fighting through the fear in that way, you know, for you to be like, I'm going to do something completely different. But one of the things that I always say is, you know, when people talk about a purpose in life, you know, and kind of what you were saying before, is my purpose just to do what I am good at? Like, you know, is my purpose just to do what my parents said I should do, or, you know, my friends say I should do? But your purpose is something that you create. Like, you're not given a purpose on this earth that is that's it, like, for the rest of your life. You get to create what you freaking do, which is why you can be as multifaceted as you want. And you know, it was one of the things for me as well, being an actress and a coach, you know, knowing that I can put my energy into both areas because I freaking create my reality. Like, I can do that. And you did that with this, and you followed what was aligned to you, and you created your purpose, and now you're getting to serve people with it. So actually, tell us a little bit about when it turned into a business for you. Like, how did that happen, and what are your thoughts on your business now?
So it turned into a business when I first got my, because I said, like before, it was I initially ordered like a small amount of crystals, and then I decided I would order more. And at this point, I had no idea how much these things kind of costed. And I was going through a brand, a supplier that my dad knows quite well. That's how I could ensure that it was all kind of ethical and done well, and that I had a really close relationship with them, because they've all got their own mines and they're all means to source their own crystals. And so I got a big batch in, probably that was about £2,000. I remember when that arrived, I was like, and also because these crystals cost so much more than what I was buying them for, let alone selling them for, compared to ones I'd seen. And that really opened my eyes in the sense of, and that was completely accidental. It opened my eyes in the sense of, oh my God, like, it's the labor and the stuff that costs a lot of money. So that's kind of where, again, it came into my brand of more the ethical sourcing and stuff like that, which I think is really hard to come by and find. So that kind of made it more into a brand. And at first I don't know how I was doing it, because I didn't, you know, TikTok kind of blew up in the way that it did. I was just selling things through Instagram. Like, I would literally have like a price list up of what I had in stock, and then I'd have to go through and cross them out and then re-put them up on my story, be like, DM me if you want one, and then like be dealing with payment and shipping and all stuff through Instagram message, and keeping like a tally in like my notebook and my journal. I don't know how, my brain. And then obviously when I noticed it was getting a lot more attention, then that was when I actually buckled down, made my website, and ordered more things and stuff like that. And then it felt like a real business once I made my website and was doing like that. And then the latest milestone was I actually became like a limited company.
Wow, well done.
So it's now actually registered as a company, and I get little letters in the post that's like, director of Athena'S Crystal.
Wow, I love this.
So yeah, it now feels like a business, but because it was such a labor of love, I don't think anything really feels like a business in that way.
No, 100%. And, you know, again, as someone in your early 20s, being able to get to that point, it's a massive achievement. And again, through this art of energy and action. And I kind of had a very similar journey myself. And this is such a great message for anybody who is just on the edge of wanting to, or has the desire to start their own online business. Because for me, I did the same thing. You know, I got to the point where I was making like 5k a month, and this was from nothing, without a website. Like I didn't even have a website at that point. I had one little landing page that said, here you go, you can like email me here. But again, that's just testament to the energy that you put behind this work. A lot of the time when people think, oh, I've got to have all this strategy in place and it's got to be leading up to this point, we burn ourselves out, and we get to this point of like, why is this not working? We ask ourselves that question. And I see this a lot with people who invest as business owners, invest a lot in business coaches before they invest in mindset coaches. Because your mindset and your energy is the foundation for your success. And clearly, because your mindset and your energy was so in this thing that you loved, it took off, which is amazing. There's one thing I want to ask you, because again, like it really did interest me about the ethically sourced crystals that you do, because one of the questions that I get asked a lot, in my academy and in my audience is, how do you know if a crystal is fake? Like, this is a question that comes up so much. Like, how do you know that you've got a real crystal that's actually giving off real energy? What do you say to that?
Well, it really depends on the crystal itself, because there's a lot of little tips and tricks you can find out for certain crystals. Like, for example, with malachite, and to be fair, this will go with all crystals, if it tends to have lines or patterns in, are really, really uniform, like rigid, as if they've been made. Also, it should feel like cold to the touch as well. That's like a general rule of thumb. But things again like citrine should be slightly more on the clear side. All crystals should be slightly transparent. They shouldn't be the same color the whole way through. But there's a lot of little tips and tricks with different crystals. But generally speaking, I'd say they should look natural. Like, you should be able to see that it looks natural. Should be slightly transparent, and cold to the touch is my general rule.
Okay. And for you, obviously you source them, as you say, all ethically. And is there like you mentioned before, is there like a different energy that you get from these crystals that you source? Tell us a bit about what that energy actually is.
So it's really hard to actually describe, but when it literally came through the door, I was like, no, there's something different about these. I just kind of felt it, and in the sense of just the ones I picked and what the transformation that started happening in my life really fast compared to other crystals that I'd got. I don't know, I just personally connected to them a lot more, and this isn't just me kind of promoting my business. I feel like other people would connect to maybe other crystals more. We're all kind of natural beings vibrating in our own way, as our crystals, so you will be drawn to different things. But I just think because they're the most natural they can be, and that the work that's gone behind them, the people have been paid properly, and it's all been done as a labor of love from start to finish, will just, like, when you eat good food because that it's fair trade, and that it's not been processed, it's just, and it feels better for your body. That's just the way that I look at it.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, so when I bought my first ever crystal, it was actually it was a local shop near me where I used to live, and it was a very witchy shop. Like it was one of them that if you weren't ready for it, you'd probably run a mile from, because it was just so spiritual. And I went in actually because I'd just gone through quite a painful breakup. So I was like, right, I was in my spiritual journey. I was like, I need to find something that's going to help me energetically heal, that I can carry with me. And I actually did carry these crystals with me for like freaking like 4 or 5 months, like just every single day. And when I went in there, the lady that was there kind of said to me, listen, the crystal will come to you. And again, I was quite new to it all. So I stood there for about probably half an hour, like, come on then, like, where's the crystal? Like, which one is it? Like, and I'm still just very confused until I finally did pick one out. What would you say for people that are kind of in that place right now where they're like, I don't know what is right for me. I don't know what's jumping out for me right now. How do you know?
Yeah, that's where I feel like it's why TikTok is like a blessing and a curse as well, because you're so overwhelmed with so much information, and people with spirituality and crystals, manifestation, all of that, it can become, when you're just getting into it, really like everyone has different opinions and different rules, and you think it just gets really overcomplicated, when in spirituality and anything like that, it is really about you and just how you feel, and your intuition. And I always say to people, let your intuition guide you. But I feel like as well is, with me anyway, and a lot of people I've spoken to, you'll start hearing about a certain crystal a lot more than you normally would. Like on your For You page, a certain one will start jumping out a lot more, or I've even had dreams about a certain one, or I hear someone talking about that they've just got it, and I'm like, maybe this is for me. I also have a little deck of like gemstone cards, which I used to kind of like shuffle and let it, like a tarot card, and let it pick it out. But I do on my Instagram help people as well that just are really new to it and don't feel like they're really being drawn to much, and they can kind of tell me what exactly is going on in their life, what kind of energy they want to draw in or get rid of, and I do recommendations based on that. And then I basically made them all up, kind of like little blurbs, like descriptions of each crystal, but without pictures. So when people message me, I send them like a choice of probably about 5 that I feel like resonate to them, with literally just the writing, just so they can read through. And I can say, just look through these, this is what I think will go well for you, and what do you immediately feel drawn to, like what jumps out at you. And then I'm like, and then go on the website and you can look on the pictures as well and see what jumps out to you. And I feel like once you narrow it down a bit, because there's so many, it can be overwhelming. So yeah, if people are really stuck, I'll get them to message me, and then we can narrow it down a little bit.
100%. For me, when I went to, and I did feel it, and I did feel it intuitively, it took me longer, because now obviously since the work that I've been doing for years, I tap into my intuition so quickly, and as do you, I'm sure. But it is a practice. And I think back then I was kind of like, what is this intuition thing? Like, what? Like, I don't know. But anyway, the one that I did end up picking out was the 2 was citrine and rose quartz, which actually are like probably 2 of the most common as well. Citrine obviously for that abundance and movement forward and that positivity, and then the rose quartz for self-love, which is like your foundation. And really interestingly, the one that I picked out was kind of shaped like an arrow. And she did say to me at the time, she was like, well, that's like a direction kind of thing, that there's a reason why you pick the shape of it as well, which I thought was really interesting. But also what I found interesting about what you said there is when you start hearing about it more, because one of the ones that I just keep seeing and hearing about everywhere is carnelian. Now that's like, can you tell us a bit about, like, because we've not actually dived into like certain crystals, but tell us a little bit about carnelian, just because I'm interested, because that's been jumping out to me.
So it's what it's basically most known for is probably being a stone of confidence. It's kind of related to the fire element as well, so it'll just really kind of like boost your confidence, your energy, give you that kind of fire, that passion, that drive. It's also very much known kind of like in the intimacy world, boost sex drive, improve sex life. It does get often confused on TikTok as being as like a stone of attraction and love, and I've also gotten a bit of backlash for kind of portraying it that way. But the way I look at it is, I think any crystal that helps with confidence and kind of boosting your self-esteem and your passion is going to help you attract better relationships. And because when you're confident in your best self, that's when you're going to attract people on the same frequency as that. So this is where it can get a bit confusing. All crystals can kind of be tailored to how you want and how you want to intend them, but that specifically, I'd say it's great for passion, confidence, and just leveling up and like general happiness and fulfillment.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I think for me, I'm going through a little period of time where it is probably more to do with my dating life and my love life, which is probably why it's jumping out to me. But I do 100% understand what you're saying, is that, the crystals, they work for you. The energy works for you, doesn't it? Like when I picked out citrine, when I was going through my breakup, like obviously the obvious one is rose quartz, which is self-love, but for me, I knew that my energy was going to go into, well, I didn't know at the time, but my energy did go into setting my business up. So like it was kind of that abundant stone that I needed in that time, but I didn't know I needed, which was crazy. But so tell us then, for you, what's the crystal that keeps jumping out for you at the moment? Because obviously you deal with so many, but what's your go-to right now?
I'm wearing honey calcite more recently, just because from Mercury retrograde, it's been very chaotic, and I just need a bit of more confidence and self-love and stuff like that myself. But Labradorite is always my die-hard fave. It was actually what started my whole spiritual journey. I was just seeing it everywhere, hearing about it everywhere, seeing it come up on like my Instagram and stuff like that. And that was originally what I messaged who's now my supplier about. And when I got it, it's just the most beautiful thing I've also ever seen. It's the one with all the flashes in, and it was just rainbow. And I carried it with me all the time. And that's for like, and that at the time I didn't even know what it was for, but it's for creativity, imagination, which kind of, I guess, helped inspire like all my TikToks that I made that did so well, and about connecting to your higher self and your intuition, and which was something coming out of the whole makeup and job situation that I don't feel like I tapped into enough. Like what we were talking about earlier, like purpose and stuff like that. All I was manifesting was, because I didn't know what I wanted to do, was I have a purpose in life. I have a purpose. I do what I love and I live my purpose. And I feel like that crystal really helped guide me towards my purpose. And it kind of just jumped out at me. And little did I know, that stone that I was literally wearing was the purpose. But I've got a few new crystals coming in, just because I pick all my crystals based on what I'm drawn to and what I want. I could probably have done a lot more research on, like, I could have got moldavite and things like that, but it's just something I've never really personally been drawn to. I've always preferred malachite, and it seems to have served me well so far, this way of doing it. But I've got rhodonite coming in, Dalmatian jasper, leopard skin jasper, just all new ones I've discovered that I'm like, I just intuitively go, that one, that's what I need.
Wow, that's great. And I love that, you can just be like, just own the fact that you're more drawn to certain ones than you are to others, and just be like, this is what I'm buying in, this is what I'm going to be selling, this is what I'm going to be talking about, because again, it just comes from that intuitive place. Now, you mentioned Mercury retrograde before. Now, this is actually something that I had in my notes that I wanted to talk to you about, because this is something that does come up a lot, for anybody listening to this podcast that is like a complete beginner in this stuff. You will have probably heard about this term Mercury retrograde. Now, I saw one of your TikToks the other day, and it was, you're talking about it as well. And we've just come out of a Mercury retrograde, haven't we?
Woohoo!
Yeah, today. So can you tell everybody, for those complete beginners, what actually is Mercury retrograde, and why do we experience it?
So it's a time that happens, I think it happens every couple of years, maybe a few times a year, for about six weeks or so. And it's just the aspects of the planets. It's when Mercury appears to be, when any of the planets are in retrograde, it's like when it appears to be going backwards almost, instead of naturally how it's supposed to be going. And that can just generally cause a bit of chaos and confusion. Obviously all the planet, well, actually no, if you're a complete beginner, I didn't know this, but all the planets have they represent different things, different meanings. That's kind of comes into more like astrology and zodiacs and stuff like that. But Mercury is the planet of like communication. So communication can tend to break down a bit during Mercury retrograde, like people not really saying what they mean, or not really meaning what they say, and also just technology generally going a bit way off, like as we've so seen this last few weeks. And actually every time it's happened, I'm like, I sound mental, but Mercury is great. And just like old flames and stuff coming back up, and just a bit of a lapse of judgment. But I feel like people on TikTok, they make it seem really, really scary, and I'm not one to fearmonger about it, because I think it can inspire a lot of positive change. However, this one I just feel like has been a lot harder than others. But that's pretty much it.
No, I like that you said, like what you said there about not to fearmonger anyone, because it's really not something to be scared of. No. Like it's just as you say, like it's just that kind of little kind of feeling like you're going backwards in a way. But we always go through those periods in life. But specifically technology wise, for me, my assistant will know, there's this big block of mine which I have been working to overcome in myself. But it's true, like obviously the other week we had the whole breakdown of Facebook and
and that's WhatsApp when it was at its peak as well, and I was like trying to explain it to my dad, and he was just like, please.
I love this. No, yeah. So, but it's interesting what you say about that kind of breakdown in communication as well, because even if you just know that you're going through Mercury retrograde, like just let it go, chill out, it's fine. Like this is just
I just
the
think
plan.
you just don't take life too seriously during that time. And people are like, you can't make any big decisions, you can't sign any contract, and like you should avoid it if you can. But at the end of the day, you just got to like not take life too seriously. Just go with your gut. Just I think the main thing is just think things through a bit more carefully than you normally would. Just take a bit more time to make decisions than you normally would.
Which is a good thing. That's
Yeah,
a really good thing. So actually, the Mercury retrogrades are teaching us that, which is fantastic. Okay, so we also mentioned zodiac signs, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about this. Just a little bit about your own sign, and maybe if you could tell me a bit about my sign, just from what you know, because everybody finds this very interesting. So tell us first like what your zodiac sign is and what that some of the qualities in that.
So as like the sun sign, which is what most people would like identify as like their zodiac sign, because that's where the placement the sun was in when you were born. Mine's Scorpio, and that just kind of rules your basic identity and like your uniqueness, and they're known for being bit more mysterious, very emotional, but they kind of keep it a bit blocked off, a little bit jealous and like that. But I think all the water signs are quite misunderstood, to be honest. But yeah, I it's crazy because in like general life, once you understand a bit more about your full birth chart, you'll see like different elements of your birth chart jump out more in certain situations. Like definitely when I'm in a social setting, my rising sign jumps out a lot more. And then again, when you're feeling like upset, in your moon sign takes over. So I find reviewing people's like full birth charts a lot more. When people don't relate to like their main zodiac sign, I'm like, okay, well, we need to have a look at everything going on.
That's so true. Tell us, just for people that are maybe complete beginners on this, like what's the difference between your sun sign and your moon sign?
So it's basically where all the, like I mentioned before, the Mercury retrograde, where all the planets were kind of in which zodiac sign exactly when you were born. And so your sun sign rules like your basic identity, your uniqueness, just what makes you you. Your rising sign represents your kind of the mask you put on, more like your personality, more how other people would perceive you, I guess. And then your moon sign, the moon generally tends to rule like emotions and what makes you kind of feel safe, what makes you feel vulnerable. And those are kind of like your main big three. You then have again like your Mercury sign, which rules how you communicate majorly, and your, what else is there? Your Mars sign, which is like what kind of motivates you and things like that. Your Venus sign, which is more about romance and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that come into play, and then it kind of gets a bit less specific because it takes the other planets like Saturn and stuff like a couple of years to get round. So for example, anyone that's born in the last couple of years will have the same Saturn sign and things like that. So it's mainly the top 5 that I would look at.
Amazing. This is so detailed. Like it's not just as simple as, oh yeah, I'm a Libra. Like there's so much more to it, and actually it's something I've been diving into a lot myself recently too, just because I'm interested. Tell me off the top of your head a bit about Libra, because that is me. We're obviously in Libra, or we're just about to come out of Libra season, aren't we?
Oh, I love
it. Tell me a bit about it.
My best friend's a Libra, so I'm just going to go for Libra women, because I feel like Libra men generally tend to be a bit different, but they've got that weighing, it's not a weighing scale, but the thing of justice. They're very much the peacemakers and like to see things from both sides. Not really big ones for conflict. They can come across a little bit flirty sometimes, but that's just because they're really friendly. They're very good at kind of chatting along with everyone, and they also like seeing the beauty in things. They tend to like take good care of themselves, aesthetically, and their houses always seem to look really nice. And they're just like, for example, my best friend Kitty, she's a Libra, she's got a food Instagram, and just the way she just makes her own little smoothie bowls in the morning, so stunning. And I'm like, oh, I just wish. And I'm like, you're such a Libra. But yeah, they're great. I love them.
That's amazing. It's amazing to hear, because everybody has these really special qualities in them, but it's always just really interesting to hear it from the astrology perspective. So I wanted a question that like a lot of my listeners will find interesting, and I ask most people, is about your rituals and like certain rituals that you do, kind of manifestation rituals or rituals that you do with your crystals. Like, do you have anything specific that you do ritual wise?
Um, yes, I kind of, it's more my morning routine that kind of sets me up for the whole day. I know that when things are a bit off for me, I'm like, I haven't been paying as much attention to my morning routine. And I kind of, which is something that I've started doing probably in the last few months, which has really helped me. I'm going to throw in a recommendation here. It's Iris Daly's Living by the Moon. I love Iris Daly.
Oh, I love her too. And she's
Amazing.
huge on TikTok as
Yeah,
well, isn't she?
I love her. But she brought out this book, which is basically where you kind of live in accordance to the cycles of the moon, which was something I was really interested in. So for example, when the moon is in Scorpio, for example, you should kind of focus more on those kind of traits and you'll feel differently. Or like when, so for example, I do like my full house cleaning like when the moon is in Virgo, because I know that's the energy I can tap into that day. Or like for example, today I believe the moon is in Aries, so it's about being fiery and passionate, which is why it's a great time to also do this podcast, because like talk about what you love. So every morning I go through my book, I see where the moon is, what's going on, and then there's little journal prompts that I fill in every morning, just kind of set me up for my day. But gratitude journaling is a massive practice for me that really changed my whole life. Just taking 5 minutes out every morning to write 3 things that you're grateful for. And then what I'll do is I will kind of look at all my crystals and just intuitively think, either if I know I've got something big that day that I need to deal with, that I'll go for one based on that, or just intuitively choose one. And that I feel like is really helpful because it kind of sets your intention for the day as well. It's almost like manifesting it. It's like, I'm going to take this citrine, for example, because I know I've got a big meeting that I'm going to do well in. And then you're setting yourself up on like the right foot.
That's so true.
Or like rose, like I'm going on a date, or like I want carnelian because I'm going on a date and I'm going to be like chatty and this is how I want it to be. So I think having those thoughts at the beginning of the day and then having the crystal to carry with you just sets your intention for the rest of the day. And I fully believe you can have a good day just simply because you wake up and you decide you're going to
100%. I mean, that's how we decide anything, isn't it? Is, you know, I say all the time, like everything you ever want is in this quantum field, and if you decide that you want it, you create it, you can have it. But I love that because it's one thing I do as well. You know, I've always got crystals on me, and you're probably the same. Like, you know, you'll always have one maybe like in your bra or like just on yourself, on your person in some way. And I do exactly the same thing. If I've got like an audition coming up, I'll take some like tiger's eye with me, and I'll have that courage in me. But I love this, that that it's every single day you're setting that intention for yourself, you know, because that's the practice here, isn't it? You know, if you want to change anything about yourself, if you want to take yourself to another level in your life and in your career, it's an everyday process. And also, you know, every day just asking yourself, okay, well, where do I need to put my energy today? It's a question I ask myself every single day. And, you know, setting that clear intention for the day, it's just training. It's literally energy training, being like, do you know what, today I'm going to call in more of this self-love. I'm going to feel this self-love, and I'm going to do it holding this crystal. And like, if you can set that intention every single day, you're going to see the shifts happen. So
people think, I think it's commonly misconstrued on like TikTok that manifestation is the practice that you just do on new moons and then you release on full moons and then that's it, job done, that's what we do. And I feel I absolutely have my own rituals that I do at these times as well, because I feel like the energy is obviously amplified. But if you're not integrating it into your life, even if it's 5 minutes a day, in any small form, things aren't going to change. Like your brain passages, the way you think, it's not going to change or develop. So it is an everyday thing. And I think a morning routine, and I can recognize a lot of people don't have a lot of time to do this, but gratitude journaling and setting an intention for your day takes a few minutes, and it is the biggest thing for me. It completely changes. And I know when things are all going wrong, I'm like, I didn't do it.
Do you know what, that's all it is, isn't it? It is very simple. And you know, when people, I think, and I see this sometimes in my own clients, that they can sometimes fall into the trap of becoming too ritualistic, and they're like, oh god, no, I've got to wake up at this time and I've got to do X, Y, and Z, and if I don't, then my whole life is going to fall apart. But it's not about that. It's just about those two, like for you, it's just those two simple things: intention, gratitude lists. Makes all the difference to your day. And that's tiny, like it only takes that small amount of time. And then some days you might wake up and you might want to do this full-blown ritual, and like you might have the time for that, and that's fine. But just listening to your body in that way is what is going to help those baby steps to get there. It is so true. And I think because I do teach, you know, these bigger rituals around these moon times and around this moon cycle, but if you're not doing the steps in between, it kind of is, it is a little bit pointless. Like you've got to make this process and the manifestation process a part of your life, rather than something you just do occasionally and think, oh, I'll call it in if I do that today. Like it becomes you, doesn't it?
And it should become something that you enjoy doing and it brings you joy. That's the whole purpose, isn't it? To raise your vibration so that you can be on the same level to attract what you want. And I think people then think, oh god, it's a new moon, I have to write in my journal what I want so many times, and it becomes like homework. And they're like, but if you incorporate it like small ways into your life every day, and then once you start calling in those desires, that's what spurs you on to kind of carry on. And it's great to have. I thoroughly enjoyed, I really want to hear more about your rituals that you do on I love that. But that's because I see it evidently in every day of my life, because you're working on it, and that's what gives you the motivation to keep doing it.
100%. And this is why you, for example, have seen the shifts you've seen in such a short amount of time. I've absolutely loved chatting to you today. I want to ask you like one final question before we end this call. What's like the biggest advice you would give to the woman or the man or whoever who's starting their spiritual journey, who's, you know, just beginning their spiritual journey? What's the biggest advice you'd give them?
I think, well, especially for me, the media you consume is so important. Just making little changes in, it's all small things. Don't overwhelm yourself with a million different things. Like it's the small changes. Like for example, instead of listening to radio and news in the morning that's like stressing you out, listen to uplifting music and listen to podcasts that feed your this is an Iris Daily quote I can't take, but feed your brain good stuff. And if reading's not your thing, do podcasts. If reading is your thing, read more self-improvement books. But just go easy on yourself. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, and just make sure you're consuming good stuff. Like on Instagram as well, instead of, if you're seeing loads of things that are making you sad, comparing yourself, follow different people, follow different inspirational pages. I think what you consume on your phone is such a big part of our lives, and on the TV and radio. If you just change it to something slightly more positive, starting there will just change everything.
100%. It's just that case of reaching for the best feeling thought that you can in that time, and doing the thing that makes you feel the best in that moment, and taking it one step at a time. 100%.
Follow your joy. That would be a more simple way of it. Follow your happiness. Literally as simple as it is.
Definitely. Amazing. Well, Georgina, it's been such a joy to chat with you today, and to dive into this spiritual side. You know, there's so many of my listeners that are deep into this spiritual work and want to learn more about this spiritual side of themselves. But there's also people that listen that are completely new to it. And I love that we've kind of gone from like basics to the more advanced kind of stuff. Where can people find you, and where can they maybe purchase some of your gorgeous jewelry and crystals?
Amazing. So yeah, I'm on TikTok and Instagram. It's just at Athena'S crystals, so it should be quite easy to find. Beware, because there's a few accounts that are pretending to be me at the moment and scamming people, so I'm just going to put that out there. It's just me. I've just got my one account, so it's at Athena'S crystals. And then my website is linked both on my TikTok and on my Instagram in the bio. But again, if you type in Athena'S crystals on Google, it should come up. But yeah, if anyone needs any help picking out anything, just give me a message.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Actually, one quick question before we go, which I did want to ask you was, where did the name for your business come from, Athena'S Crystals? Where did that come from?
So it comes from a story about my first tattoo, which I got in Lanzarote when I was about 16 years old. I used to be, because I've always been into like weird spiritual things like that, I used to be really into Greek mythology, and
Wow.
Athena is the goddess of wisdom and war. And I wanted to get an Athena tattoo, and I ended up getting a completely different tattoo, which it means something completely different, but we go into it. And
I love that.
I just wanted my brand to be something that related to me and related to what I stood for, but also had a funny story behind it. So, and I didn't really want to use my name. So Athena it just seemed like the perfect fit. And
love that. I love that story. Thank you so much, Georgina. I hope you go and have a gorgeous rest of your day, and hopefully any questions that do come in for you, after listening to this podcast, like just drop me a DM, tag us both in your Instagram story so that we know that you've listened to it. And then, any questions that we have, we can get them over to you, Georgina.
Thank you so much for having me. That's been so fun.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who you think would love it too. And if you want to let me know how you found it, just screenshot this episode, add it to your Instagram story, and tag me at @IamJessicaPaul so that I can throw all the love right back at you. And of course, subscribe, hit those 5 stars, and leave a review to show your support and to keep the good stuff coming. Sending you so much love and gratitude from your girl Jess.